Dr. Gorka, how is counterterror in the United States going to be handled differently in a Trump administration compared to an Obama administration? You talked a little bit about immigration, but what is actually going to change under this new administration?
It will be night and day. As somebody who works closely with General Flynn, as someone who's met Donald Trump and discussed these issues, read the Youngstown speech, read General Flynn's book, Field of Fight, and you will see, number one, starting the evening of January 20th, political correctness will be expunged. There will be no more censorship, no more you can't say the word jihad when the enemy said say they're jihadis. So we're going to have no more censorship. We're going to talk about the threat realistically. Second, Donald Trump has said within the first 30 days he wants his generals to provide a military plan to defeat ISIS. So we're going to be aggressive. We're going to have fortitude in our response. And thirdly, we're going to attack the ideology. This is why the Youngstown speech is so interesting. Mr. Trump realizes it's not about just killing bad guys. That's whack-a-mole. You've got to destroy the ideas that attract young men and women. The same way that Ronald Reagan took down the ideology of communism, we're going to go after the ideology of jihad, and that will bring ultimate victory.
And they're trying to get kids, actually. I mean, ISIS, what do you think about this, Dr. Gorka? ISIS has reportedly developed a smartphone app, and this app allows kids to destroy major Western landmarks like the Statue of Liberty and the Eiffel Tower. Are you surprised by the technology that ISIS is using to potentially recruit younger children? I mean, how can they be able to create this app?
Well, this is perhaps one of the most disturbing developments. ISIS is focusing a great deal on the minors, on potential future jihadis. My wife and I just published a report on the militarization of children by ISIS. It's at threatknowledge.org. We have screenshots of the textbooks, the jihadis. They teach children how to count in Syria and Iraq by counting Kalashnikovs, by counting cartridges for rifles. This is something that we will have to deal with, and the region will have to deal with 10, 15 years from now, as those children become inculcated to the life of jihad at such an early age. This is very, very disturbing.
And you said it's Threat Knowledge?
Threatknowledge.org. Your viewers can download it. It's the militarization of children.
Thank you. Go ahead, Harlan.
Dr. Gorka. Harlan Hill here. So much about counterterrorism now seems like it's a lot of cleanup. The floodgates were opened to Europe. You have 1 million refugees in Germany. You have millions across the rest of the European Union. We don't even really have a hold on how many are there. You know, our back door is open here in the United States. We have a porous border on the north and south. We have people that are being radicalized in this country and across the European Union. How do we, first of all, tackle these refugees that are already in different Western countries that may be radicalized? And two, you know, how do you get to people that are being radicalized, potentially Americans or other Western Europeans, you know, before they actually take action?
Great question, Harlan. So technology is great. We love technology. Americans put a man on the moon. But the fact is, technology only gets you so far. You can have the latest satellites, the algorithms, decode encrypted email. That's great. But the ultimate weapon in this war are human intelligence resources, We have to have a federalization of those incredible tools that the NYPD developed in the last 15 years, putting people into those radical communities to identify people before they build that pressure cooker bomb, before they steal that truck and drive it into some Christmas festivities. So we have to rediscover human intelligence and look at what the NYPD has done, because they've done an incredible job. Almost 20 plots against New York in the last 15 years, and they have been thwarted by the NYPD's intelligence.
How about this Fox News exclusive? The families of the victims from the Orlando nightclub shooting, they're suing Facebook, Twitter, and Google. So they allege that the companies provided material support for ISIS. Dr. Gorka, what do you think about that? Social media's role in modern-day terrorism, even more important that Donald Trump met with those technology executives last week.
Yeah, I have a slightly nuanced approach to this. So the platforms are important, but what's more important is the message, what's going out. I mean, in Afghanistan, they use leaflets. So the platforms are important, but they're not everything. Nevertheless, these people have to be held responsible. When Facebook allows the propagation freely of jihadi material that incites to violence or helps to spread the message of kill the infidel, they should be held accountable. accountable for that. If you can hold corporations accountable for what happens with their products, if they're dangerous to the customer, then why not to the social media platforms? I'd like to see a more serious attitude to national security from the big social media companies.
Well, Dr. Gorka, earlier this morning we had Buck Sexton on, and he was suggesting that it's actually a double-edged sword if you get rid of some of these online communities, because they're actually a source of a lot of intelligence. So how do you balance that, you know, wanting to continue to mine these social networks for intelligence and access to jihadis, but also preventing the propagation of this propaganda?
He's former CIA,
former CIA Buck.
Who came out.
Oh, I know Buck. Yeah, Buck knows what he's talking about. Yeah, there is a fine line to walk here. All national security is a balance. If you look at the fact more than 40% of the ISIS jihadis we have intercepted in America were intercepted through social media. It's a great tool, but there needs to be collaboration. There needs to be a conversation between Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, and the national security services so that there is collaboration. You're not shutting everything down, but we should only use that which helps us secure America.
Yeah, but I mean, it is head-scratching that the jihadis have so many Twitter accounts.
Well, of course, and look at the fact that, look at what Apple did after San Bernardino.
Right.
I mean, it's absurd.
Or didn't
so
do.
this is... Oh, right, didn't do. The phone doesn't even belong to the dead jihadis. It belongs to the council employing them, and the authorities aren't allowed to unlock it. I mean, that's absurd. That's the private sector out of control when it comes to the safety of our fellow Americans.
But isn't it different to expect the private sector to assist in an investigation like that as compared to expect them to have the resources devoted to trying to look through all of the social media accounts and try to cut off the head of every single one of these accounts as they pop up? Because one gets cut off, another one pops up. So is it really fair to hold a private company accountable?
Look, this is human lives we're talking about. If you can have Twitter policing itself for hate speech, and sometimes, you know, for people that are just, you know, too conservative for Twitter, they can police that, but they can't police jihadi narrative.
Right.
I find that hard to swallow.
Really incredible insights as always. Dr. Gorka, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mary.
Sebastian Gorka there.